4,000 rape gang cases in London look set to be reopened. Well, it's bad news for Sadiq Khan, who has infamously claimed this.
To avoid any misunderstanding, can she define what she means by that?
Yes, if you look at what's gone on in Rotherham, where there are people taking young girls, grooming them for sex.
We know in London there are issues about exploitation of young people, but...
Not the same in London as elsewhere in Britain, Sadiq? And why is it he's so defensive and evasive when he's questioned on this topic?
Can I just be clear, Chair? Is the inference that because of my faith or my ethnic origin, I'm not seeking to follow these crimes?
No, I'm asking you because you're the Police and Crime Commissioner.
It beggars belief, doesn't it? Well, Sadiq Khan claims that London is different to other parts of the country on this topic. Well, it looks like the police might disagree with you, Mr. Mayor, because now they think 4,000 closed rape gang cases need reopening. And Sadiq Khan's deputy mayor is just as evasive.
Are there rape gangs in London? You're the deputy mayor for policing. The mayor won't answer.
As I
It's a yes or a no.
I will happily answer the question that we do want to prioritise and make sure there's high levels of forensic support and evidence gathering on sexual abuse of all kinds,
Do you know
especially
how bad
children.
this looks? Do you understand how bad this
Hall,
looks
would you
for
like
Labour?
me to...
I mean, it's nuts. Answer the question. Well, I think any mayor, MP, councillor, police officer or any authority figure found engaging in an active cover-up, particularly on this topic, or using slimy language to avoid scrutiny, must be held to account at the bare minimum. Should we get the thoughts?
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
Of my panel, former Labour councillor Sebastian Salek is here, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and political commentator Emily Hewitson. Welcome to the show, everybody. Adam, I'll start with you. Met Police, 4,000 grooming gang cases identified that may need to be reopened. What does that say when you see the scenes that the mayor has put the country through, at least the capital through, constantly denying they exist in the same way they do elsewhere, but apparently the Met Police might disagree with that?
How is this arrogant man still the mayor of this capital city? 9 million people live in London, and we've got that man sort of leading it. Crime has spiralled out of control since 2016. We've seen tube strikes, he promised that would end. So much has happened that he said he would sort out. He's a terrible, terrible mayor. Donald Trump is spot on with him. Yet, when he's asked about grooming gangs, he was so arrogant there to Susan Hall. He should not be allowed to not answer that question. As I say, he's the top of the police. As the mayor, he heads the police. He must answer. He doesn't, and you've got to answer why. Ask why. For me, it's my opinion that it's because of his faith and his ethnicity that he's maybe trying to defend certain quarters of that extreme people within that community. but that should not affect his job as mayor. And I think that's disgusting. 9 million people in London, it's obviously a clear problem with grooming and rape gangs within it. And he just brushed it aside like it wasn't a problem.
Well, as you saw in the second clip I played there, which is an older exchange where Susan Hall was in that video clip during COVID, where he actually uses, he says, well, is it because of my ethnicity and my faith that you want to ask me these questions?
He hides behind that,
Well, I think that's a deflection, because actually anyone sensible, and I think as David Curtin, one of the former GLA members, says, well, no, it's because you're the Police and Crime Commissioner that I'm asking you. And this is the thing, Emily, isn't it? Is that people just want answers to this really, really serious topic. We've seen it prolific throughout the rest of the country, particularly in big cities and small towns. But why would anybody assume London is somehow an exception to all of this?
Exactly, and I agree with Adam that he is a terrible mayor, but I think based on that clip, I'm inclined to believe that he is a terrible person. I think it is an absolute insult to the victims to keep asking. I mean, Susan Hall asked him 9 times about grooming gangs. It's insulting that he pretended not to know the definition of grooming gangs. It's insulting to pretend to try and move the conversation onto County Lines victims, which is obviously important, but a very different issue to what Susan Hall was asking. And it's insulting to pretend that this isn't an issue that has affected London. How can it be so prevalent in every other city in the UK, but somehow London, the crime capital, is exempt? It's just insulting. And if you've read Rupert Lowe's victims report into the inquiry into grooming gangs, which, by the way, I recommend every single person reads because it is so powerful. I'm making my way through it now. You'll read the testimonies and you will see how the police and how the authorities failed these victims. And Sadiq Khan is doing the exact same.
Right. Well, I'll first start on this line about his faith and ethnicity. I don't think that's the reason why he's hiding behind all of this, by the way. I think he's hiding behind all of it, all of the clever language and the rhetoric, because he's worried about his track record being exposed. But do you think there's any truth that his faith and ethnicity play a part in the reason why the questions weren't answered very clearly?
No, so my reading of that was that Susan Hall was dog whistling, wasn't she? She was saying...
No, she wasn't. What? Dog whistling about girls being raped?
Talk about religion, which she was skirting around. But look, we can talk about the merits of the mayor all we want, but the reality is, if you don't think he's a good mayor, the people of London disagree with you. Who's 10 years into his time as mayor of London. He's been re-elected twice, so he has a very strong electoral track record. And I would reject the framing that he is anti all of this. He's welcomed the reopening of these cases. He said we must leave no stone unturned. Last year, he announced £2.4 million to go towards specialist support for survivors of child sexual violence. And he went for an investigation into the Met's handling of this as well. So he's been very, very firm on this.
Let me just pull you up on a couple of things. The dog whistle comment, Seb, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. We've seen that same ridiculous excuse used by people like Lucy Powell, who went on to apologise for saying things. But why is it
ridiculous?
Because it's not a dog whistle.
Because women and girls were raped.
It's not a dog whistle to point out that there might be rape gangs taking part in your city.
That's not my point.
Right? He was baiting Susan Hall into saying Pakistani rape gangs.
Well, because that's what she meant.
That's what they are, Sebastian.
That's what they
are. No, it's not what they are, because these 4,000 claims here are of all religions.
If she wanted to say Pakistani rape gangs, she would have said it. She called them rape gangs, and she was explicit in that. And I've watched all of her exchanges on this, because I watched over... I wanted to play it all for the audience here, but we don't have time to go through every single clip of Susan Hall pulling the mayor and the deputy mayor apart on this. She's never once used the word Pakistani rape gangs, which is actually a fair attribution to some of these gangs up and down the country. She didn't use that.
Yes, but not these ones specifically. Not these ones in London. But not these 4,000 cases.
It's not fair to say it's a dog. It's not fair to say it's a dog whistle when she didn't even do that. The mayor of London dog whistled when he did it in that clip with David Curtin, where he said, "Was it about my faith and ethnicity?" He was baiting people in, and he did it again with Susan Hall. So if anyone's guilty of dog whistling, it's Sadiq Khan, in my opinion. But then let's get on to why London would be any exception. Why do you think why do you think Sadiq Khan has thought that London would be an exception?
He doesn't think London's an exception. He has welcomed the reopening of these 4,000 cases. He is taking this as seriously as a mayor of London should do.
After a national grooming gang inquiry's been started, yes, he has, but not before that.
He's been forced
his
into that.
His explicit words were something. Well, his words were something like, "It's not the same in London as it is everywhere else." Why do you think he thought that?
Well, it's not. I mean, you just read the Telegraph story that this is based on. It says these do not fit the grooming gang model found in other areas, with perpetrators and victims coming from a wide range of different ethnic backgrounds, and it goes on to talk about how these are different kinds of cases. They're intrafamilial, they're online, they're in-person child sexual abuse. So you can't make a direct comparison. They're two different atrocities we're talking about here.
All right, Adam. The national inquiry is getting underway. That's taken a very long time to get started. We are starting to see now people change a bit of their tone. The Mayor of London has said that grooming gangs are more complex in London than they are in other parts of the country. My problem with Sadiq Khan's comments on this before is that I think, over all of it, he's used clever language to avoid talking about the issue of rape gangs in London. He asked Susan Hall to be explicit. Now, I think Susan Hall was quite explicit in her challenges to this, and I think she's been a bastion of talking about this issue. Most people in this country, when they hear the word rape gang, think of men, lots of men, raping young children. That's what they think. I think clever language, political language, has been used to obfuscate from this issue. What's your take on it?
Well, first of all, I think the reason that this panel has got so passionate is because at the end of the day, like, people are thinking of the victims here, and they have been so let down, and that is what's making people so upset. But I think when you watch an exchange like we've seen between Sadiq Khan and Susan Hall, what is so frustrating is that Sadiq Khan just constantly keeps talking about, you know, county lines, and like you said, Susan Hall was very specific. She was talking about rape gangs, and they may be more complex in London, but the problem is, as soon as you start saying, oh, you're focusing too much on the race, that is exactly what stopped the police investigating these types of crimes all across the UK. So I think we have to be very, very careful of going down this road that if you point out an ethnicity of the perpetrator, that you're starting to be called racist or say that you have a problem with Muslims.
What you just said there, the whole reason this went on for so many decades is that mayors, police, MPs would not call out the ethnicity and the religion of the grooming gangs up north. And that is a fact. That has been laid out in so many reports now. It went on. Hundreds of thousands of victims potentially, but certainly tens of thousands were victims when they didn't need to be. If our authorities had actually done their job and not worried about being labelled as racist or anti-Muslim or whatever, so many people suffered, including many young children. And that is why I get so emotive and so angry on this, because it should never be happening in Britain. That has been the finding of multiple reviews into this. Seb, what would you say to those? There has been multiple reviews of this, and they say that language where people would call someone racist, Islamophobic or something else, that has actually bred this problem to be even worse.
I agree with that, and I think we all need to be more aware of our unconscious biases. We all have them because of the society we live in, and once you become more aware, you can make decisions that are clear-headed, and other people are in a position not to challenge those, and we avoid atrocities like this one.
Also, if I can quickly point out, Sammy Woodhouse just last week was asked to go on Good Morning Britain, and they've had to publicly apologise to her because she was told that she's not allowed to name her rapist as Pakistani. And it's shocking that we're still not allowed to have those open discussions about the influence of race and religion into this.
If it was, look, I just want to say this: we know there is an atrocity of people raping people in this country, and there are white British people who do it too. We call them all out. Right? And we do talk about ethnicity and race because it's important. If there is a high proportionality of people in certain communities doing this, then it actually is the onus of that community as well to come together and say, we have got to stop this. One of my friends, she was groomed in London. She wasn't a white British girl, by the way, of white British heritage. She constantly tells me, I want my community to call this out because it's prolific. And I think it's really, really important that we have open discussions like this. And of course, we'll continue to have it here on GB News as well. A spokesman for Sadiq Khan strongly rejected any suggestion that he'd sought to cover up issues related to child sexual exploitation in the capital, saying the mayor welcomes the reinvestigation of the cases and had been clear we must leave no stone unturned. They said this: any individuals or grooming gangs exploiting children for sex are utterly abhorrent, and the mayor wants justice for every single victim of these horrific crimes. They added, the Met and this independent investigation must follow the evidence wherever it leads, and the mayor will continue to support and hold the Met to account to ensure it does everything possible to tackle child sexual exploitation in London, including grooming gangs. Deputy Assistant Commissioner Kevin Southworth of the Metropolitan Police said this: we are fully committed to engaging with the National Inquiry and the Operation Beacon Port review into past cases led by the National Police Chiefs Council. We have identified those previously closed cases that meet the criteria to be considered part of Operation Beacon Port. If it is determined that any require further investigation, we will of course take that work forward to deliver justice for the victim survivors involved. We would urge anyone who is or is still experiencing abuse of any kind to come forward. You will be listened to and supported. And we here at GB News, if you are watching, do encourage you to do that very thing.